The Dhamma discussion. So as usual, Chandrika is ready with written questions or reports, and we'll start with the written questions.
Avasara Bhante, we have 4 reports today. Report number 1. Avasara Bhante, this question is about my day-to-day activity. So since I have started a new job recently, I have felt that I am starting a new chapter and there is a sense of fear and anxiety that comes out. Mostly thoughts like, am I going to be working till I am 70? Is this all what life has to offer? While I understand that these are just thoughts and try to be mindful about them when they come and not let them consume me, but it still feels very daunting and constant. Do you have any advice for me, Bhante? And he has written his meditation experiences as well.
Okay, yeah.
So, meditation. During my sitting meditation, I feel myself dozing off a lot. I am aware that this is a very common experience and have to just keep trying to practice and be mindful while awake, which is what I attempt to do. Is there any advice you can give, Bhante, or should I just stick to the practice with metta?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is about the walking practice. So that's why we introduce more into the walking path. So rather than sitting, so actually today, by the way, because of the rain, we have certain issues. But in case you are quite sure that you are nodding and drowsy and sleepy, then better get up and get into the walking practice. So that would be the best option rather than simply nodding and, going to some lethargic kind of a situation. Because while walking, you can definitely pay attention to each and every sensation, different movements, etc., etc., and even you can start watching the mind. So many things are possible while walking. So therefore, I mean, in order to avoid sleepiness, definitely walking would be a very good practice. On the other hand, if you are coming to the sitting, then of course you can make use of some other things, like you can have a little hot water or wash your face, or you can drink some tea and come. Those kind of things are there. And on the other hand, you can sit on a fairly illuminated place rather than it at a gloomy place. It has to be a fairly lighted area. So then that's another area that we can look into. Because if you are in a kind of a very dark, gloomy type of an environment, that also makes your mind more lethargic, drowsy. So such thing is also there. The other thing is related to your new job. So I think what you have experienced is something good. Now, in the sense, you have seen these thoughts. So typically what happens is we don't notice them. We simply become sort of victim of them. So here now you have the capacity to look at them, how these thoughts are coming, how they are sometimes tempting, and how it causes certain amount of anxiety. So anyway, so looking at them properly as they are merely thoughts is the sort of the method that you have to overcome them, because they are merely thoughts. Actually, we have to go through these kind of situations, then only we can understand these kind of thoughts are possible and these situations are there, and these different situations, these are the typical thoughts which are coming, and is it possible for me to look at them? So now it's a good opportunity to look at them, and as a result of that, they may start disappearing because you are not being a victim of them. If you promote them and if you encourage them, then definitely they will overwhelm you. But since you are able to look at them properly, then slowly their strength will reduce. Ultimately they will disappear. And you know that it will disappear anyway after some time. So it will not be a new job anymore. It will be that typical job later after some time. So every new experience is like that. Say, assume that you are going to a new house and you feel a little different and the positions and everything are different. You go to a new monastery, things are different. So likewise, our experiences are sometimes demanding us certain attention and certain change in ourselves, but later they become very normal and ordinary type of experiences. And it is common even in the meditation. Say you first experience samadhi, that will be really a blissful type of experience, and you might even misunderstand it is the type of nibbana, it is the first jhana or whatever thing. So we can easily overestimate it, exaggerate it, because it's new to us. But when again and again you are coming there, it becomes a normal experience. It is no more something exciting, extraordinary. It is quite an ordinary experience. So likewise, our life is like that. So when we are going through any sort of a new experience, it's produced certain amount of agitation in the mind, but later it will naturally disappear. Interesting thing is, how are we having some sort of a capacity, even when you are going to a new place, not being agitated, isn't it? So that will be a good thing. So doesn't matter you go to this place or that place, but you are trying to keep your mind fairly stable, where the external facts does not much affect your mind. So you have the capacity to maintain a stable mind irrespective of whether you are at a familiar place or unfamiliar place. So these are very interesting areas that we can explore. Whether am I have such capacity, or am I always being nervous at a new situation? And probably now, say for example, I can remember as a student when I am asked to deliver a speech at college. Little nervous, right? You all may have such experiences, little nervous. But later, as we get used to it, so it's not that nervous. I mean, it's possible. And it is no more something that you're being nervous and you being somewhat agitated or anxious about it. Rather, you simply do it. So likewise, so we easily overcome these things, and hopefully you will be all right with maybe after 2 weeks. Yeah. Anything more?
Do you want to talk anything more? Ask anything more?
So sometimes I've noticed that when I try to look at the feelings and the emotions that are going on, sometimes I can't find them, but I still feel them.
Mm-hmm.
So in those instances, what do you propose? Like I don't I can physically feel it, but I can't seem to
at a particular place. So just be aware of it. These kind of emotions we can't exactly find out where they are. Probably you can look at your heart area. Maybe to some extent you can feel it, but in general, anyway, we are feeling it. Some sort of an emotion is there. We can't recognize where exactly they are, but we know it is. So best thing is to look at the mind. So to be with the mind. So what are the things going on? So is this emotion I am aggravating? Am I increasing it? Am I putting too much onto it? Or I am simply seeing it and let it be, or let it sort of fade away, let it dilute, then that's all right. So being aware of the emotion is the best thing, and not being carried away by that, and simply being patient with it without reacting to it, then it will naturally fade away, because you know that it's also a conditioned phenomena and it can't last forever unless we feed it. So if we stop feeding it, definitely it will change. So these are very interesting instances that we can, practice. In our practical life. So these are the different situations that we go through, and when those different emotions are there, so I am able to look at it, step back and look at it, and as a result of that, it can't overwhelm me. It can't make me nervous or anxious or any kind of a thing. But you recognize it's a kind of an emotion, and then slowly fade away. Ultimately disappear.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Report number 2. Most Venerable Swamin Wahansa, there are two parts. Part number 1, in doing Anapanasati Bhavanava, I concentrate on rising and falling of stomach movements. However, while doing so, other thoughts too come to mind, and I try to look at those thoughts merely as thoughts which will pass away. However, sometimes the sequence of looking at thoughts overcome the looking at my stomach movements. With compassion towards me, would Bhante please share your views on this?
It should be okay. Now, if you are handling thoughts properly, if you are able to look at thoughts as merely thoughts, it doesn't matter. It is not essential for you to return back to even rising and falling, because this is another very rich area for you to practice. Rising and once you develop fair amount of mindfulness and clear comprehension through rising and falling, then automatically you may be looking at the mind. Now you can even forget about rising and falling. Look at the mind directly. Maybe thoughts are coming and you can look at them, and you are exploring that, investigating them. So that also is a very rich area for us to practice. So it is not a compulsory to go back to the rising and falling unless you become sort of completely bewildered, completely distracted while going through the mind, while looking at the mind. It also can happen. Because sometimes certain thoughts are really tempting and taking you to a different area, and you being lost there, start proliferating. Then you need to definitely find the body would be a very good refuge. You are coming back to rising and falling, and again re-establish mindfulness, refine the faculties again. But if you are confident, there is no such thing. I am confident, thoughts are coming, they are merely thoughts. As a result of being mindful, so they are also disappearing, then be confident. Just be with it. No problem.
Part 2. Kindly explain further what really is jhana and what is dhyana. Much merit to you, Bhante.
Very similar. I can't say it's different. So dhyana is the Pali term. Jhana is the, I don't know. So dhyana is how that we are writing in Pali. So but anyway, when we are writing in English, so we put it like JH, long A and NA, jhana. So we pronounce it also like jhana. I don't know at what level or in which perspective you are asking. Anyway, there is a certain relationship with this to the education also. This is something I learned from Bhante Dhammajiva. So he used to say, the previously people are more into dhyana, into practice. Later they get into adhyana. So then it later become adhyapana. So they only learn but no practice. Only theory is there but no practice. But dhyana is very much like the opposite. You are into the practice. So practice is the important thing. And probably, so these are the different terms later change into Zen also. So the Zen also has some relationship with the dhyana.
Report number 3, most respected Bhante. This is a long one, Bhante. I'll read her experience first and then go one by one. Most respected Bhante, I wish to share my experience during listening to yesterday's Dhamma sermon. Approximately first 15 minutes, I was able to listen to Dhamma sermon very mindfully and can remember fully. Then I think I went to empty space and only vibrations of the sounds were experienced and cannot remember Dhamma sermon. Twice I experienced the sudden shocks in the body, and after that I came back to listen to the Dhamma sermon. Then I experienced very calm and relaxed mind and enjoyed the tranquil body too. That time was so peaceful, but I cannot recall the sermon now. Last 15 minutes was very challenging. period, and I tried to match Dhamma points with the pain arised in my knees. First 5 minutes, I was able to shift my mind between left and right knees when the pain is arising, but after that, I was unable to bear the pain and open my eyes. But I managed to observe the body pain separately without having inner chatter. Number 1, while doing the sitting meditation, also I am experiencing sudden shocks in the body, and currently my understanding is it helps me to be more mindful to the present moment. Is it required to do further study on sudden shocks while doing the sitting meditation?
No, I mean, it's necessary, but the point is, I think this is from you, yeah. So the point is like, so while we are in the, say, even emptiness, so we can't say we are purely 100% empty. So there may be shades of feelings, shades of perceptions, and still we are able to maintain the body posture. But as we continue that, there are maybe instances where you are coming to such a very pure type of emptiness, no establishment of object. There is no place to establish ourselves at all. So then you even can't maintain the posture. Sudden falls can happen. So the best thing is you are having this kind of support. So you are quite sure about the body and you are having that support and you are continuing the practice and you don't need to worry about the body. It is safe. And now it's a matter of observing the mind. And now mind is getting more and more empty and empty. And there may be instances completely empty, but body is safe. There is no falls. So I feel this is the kind of thing typically happens because you know that in order to maintain our body posture, we are getting certain amount of data, certain amount of information from our outside. So through our eyes, ears, nose, I mean all that, even through this air pressure, all that actually matters. And that's how we are maintaining the body posture. Once it is completely very much like, particularly mentally we don't have that support coming in, so the body falls. It is possible. So best thing is to lean on and forget about the body, and you know that it is safe, nothing to worry. Now you are looking at the mind, continue the practice, and once you reach such emptiness, still no problem. Because body still remains the same, because there is no way to fall or to get into any trouble, because it is already positioned at a place which is very safe. So, is there any other thing that you would like to contribute? Yeah, the next section? Okay, yeah.
Part 2. When I am listening to Bhante's Dhamma sermons, I can follow the instructions at the same time without any judgments or doubts. By following your instruction, I have got meditation experiences during the last couple of months. I give my great gratitude to Bhante and kindly requesting more details on Sutta Deshana relating to emptiness, please.
Yeah. That's it.
There is another part also.
Yeah, I mean, Sutta Desanas with respect to emptiness. So, particularly there are ones in the Majjhima Nikaya. Separate section is called Sunyata Vagga. So starting with Maha Sunyata Sutta, Chula Sunyata Sutta. So these are the most prominent ones in the Theravada tradition. But sometimes we can see that these are not given enough emphasis, not taken there much of practical value. But nowadays people are talking them. That's a good thing. So Bhante Dhammajiva has taken these suttas as the theme of the retreats. I myself have taken these as the retreats, theme of the retreats. And recent Perth retreat completely on the signless and emptiness. And they are also actually fair good. Now these are purely onto the emptiness, but the interesting thing is there are certain other suttas talking about some support coming to the emptiness. So rather than saying, okay, I am particularly looking at this particular sutta, so what are the other things where Buddha contributes towards that? Now another interesting sutta is Kalakarama Sutta. In the Kalakarama Sutta, there is no much practice-related thing, but entirely on emptiness. Very, very profound. Very, very profound Kalakarama Sutta. And you can read Bhante Jnanananda's book, Magic of the Mind. It's Sringha translation, Manase Mayava. Excellent work. Really excellent. He's giving a very good composition of the details related to emptiness. And it has some connection with the Patisaupada also. Now the point is, when you understand impermanence, it naturally gets on to the emptiness in the sense. Where you understand you can't have a permanent entity here. Not unchanging entity here, unchanging person or being or soul here, because things are extremely transient. So that's why Buddha explained to Venerable Meg here, telling anicca sanyino megiya anatta sanya santhati. So as you are developing anicca sanya, the notion of impermanence, transience, more and more you understand it, naturally you will end up with this understanding of emptiness. Because you know that there can't be anything which is permanent. Then how can there be something? How can there be someone? So the definition of emptiness is very well explained by the Buddha. Sunyamidang attenava attaniyenava. Sunyamidang attenava. That means something called a soul, a lasting entity, there is no such thing. It's empty. And something belong to a self is also, there is no such thing. So those are the areas actually we can check. So as you know that it's one aspect of anatta. So with respect to the teaching of the anatta, there are 5 areas Buddha points out. Actually it's a kind of summarization of different areas that Buddha has pointed out. Later it has compiled as 40 samatha objects. Probably you have heard about it. 40 samatha objects, 40 vipassana, chattali sakara vipassana bhavana. Have you heard about it? Most Venerable Redukana Chandamala Thero has compiled a book, Chattali Sakara Mahavidarshana Bhavana. So there can probably remember there are 5 aspects of what you call the anatta. So anatta, sunyata, parato, then tucchato and ritato. So these are different areas that with respect to the anatta teaching it is explained. Say for example ritato. Ritta means kind of a vacuum. Nothing is there. On the other hand, tucchato. Tuccha means empty in the sense there is no any value, there is no any intrinsically substantial anything is there. So tucchato, nothing is there. Rittato is already discussed, the kind of a vacuum. Rittato, tucchato, parato. Parato is where things are beyond my control, so things do not belong to me. Everything belongs to others. you have nothing basically. Parato. So parato means, so nothing belongs to me, nothing under my control. Everything has their own control. There are different causes are there which I have no control. Parato. Probably you have heard this word, parato belma. So while you are watching your breath, you have to have that parato belma. So you step back and watch like breathing as someone else is breathing. So you need to separate from the breathing. It is not I am breathing, rather it is breathing. It is not me who is breathing, or it is not my breathing either. So it is breathing. It does not belong to me. It's parato. So there are a series of suttas Buddha mentioned. They are categorized as na tumhaka. Na tumhaka means it doesn't belong to you. So what doesn't belong to you? All the 5 aggregates not belong to you. So the parato is where you are looking at everything as it doesn't belong to me. It It's beyond my control. So the parato. And then the sunyato, again empty of a self or what belongs to self. And then the anattato, there is no any soul. So these are the areas actually with respect to anatta. So sunyata is one prominent area of this anatta, where there is no any permanent self, eternal soul at all. So there the emptiness is coming to the picture. And as I said, Kalakarama Sutta is another area very profoundly Buddha explained emptiness. So just by merely name you can't understand how it is showing. But once you are going through the sutta, where how Buddha is attributing sort of emptiness to every different areas, particularly with respect to our eyes, we can say to 4 areas. Ears, also 4 areas. Nose, tongue, body, another 4 areas. With respect to the mind, another 4 areas. Now, say for example, say I am looking at something. That means something is there, right? So now, when something is there, then I can proliferate on that something. Say I am looking at a person. Okay, he is there. So I can say, okay, he is a good person. He is belong to his mother is was Niranja and all that. I can think about everything, right? Because someone is there, something is there. So now, for the Buddha, to the Arahant, there is no something. So objectifying things, they may objectify if necessary, in the sense, I mean, just to communicate. But intrinsically they know there is no someone, there is no something. Another thing is, now if I didn't see him, probably I still can say, oh, I didn't see him for a long time. Don't know whether he has left the country. Still I can proliferate. So with respect to unseen, not seen, still I can proliferate. So not seen has become something for me to proliferate. So that is also not there with respect to the Buddha. And then, is it something I should see? Should see? That tabbang or something? So I can't remember the words. It's very tricky Pali words are there. So Jnanananda Thero very beautifully explains that. You need to read the Manasai Maya book or Magic of the Mind book. Very, very beautiful, interesting book. And so that tabbang, so thinking that there is something I should see, and then I can proliferate. I haven't seen it, I should see that. So thinking like that, I can proliferate. That is also empty. There is no such thing to the Buddha. And the interesting part is, I am the one seeing. I am the one saw it. So you are taking it all together to this side and attributing a self here. There is a person who is seeing. There is no such thing even to the Buddha. So you can see the different areas how Buddha very beautifully explains there is no self, permanent entity, anything at any of these places. You can't say there is a person who is thinking, there is a person who is seeing or listening, any of this. So that's why when we are seeing, we naturally create a person who is seeing. A seer is there. When we are listening, we are going more than hearing, we become a listener. We are listening purposely, intentionally, and there is a person who is listening, I am a listener. A person. Similarly, tasting, same thing. Say, when we are going through the bodily experiences, same thing. I am the one experiencing. I am there. And how about thinking? That's the most interesting part. When thoughts are there, who is thinking? I am the one thinking. Who else? So that's why, I think these things we already discussed some time back. That's the famous Descartes' statement. I think, therefore I am. So I am there because I think. So thinking is one area. So confirming a self assuring a self, because thoughts are there. Then when you are experiencing absence of thoughts, where are you? Dead. So that is where recently that Mark Epstein published the book, Thoughts Without a Thinker. There are thoughts, but there is no thinker. And some certain other suttas like there is one monk asking from the Buddha, now Bhante, you are talking about contact. Who is contacting? Now Buddha is talking about the contact. So this monk is asking, who is going through the contact? Who? So Buddha say, I am not telling that someone is going through contact. Okay, contact happens because of these conditions. There is no person who is going through a contact. I am not telling like that. So don't misinterpret it. It's very beautiful. Can't remember the name of it. If it comes, we'll see. So likewise, at different juncture, he is asking various questions. Who is seeing, or who is going through contact? Who is cognizing? So I am not telling like that. There is no someone who is going through, but the conditions are there. As a result of that, the knowing part happens, cognition part happens, contact happens, say the feelings happen, but there is no someone who is feeling. These are very, very deep, very, very interesting. So we are feeling everything, right? We are listening now. So who is listening? Who is feeling? So Buddha doesn't say there is someone who is feeling. Buddha doesn't say there is someone who is contacting. Conditions are there. When conditions are there, okay, the feelings happen. So these are actually talking emptiness. Very deep in a way. So more we explore, then you get to know how the Buddha connects. So different suttas direct into the emptiness in a way. Sometimes it's difficult to even trace, but directly we can say, talking about the emptiness, these kind of suttas, profoundly in this Kalakarama Sutta. So I think there are 3 stages or 5 stages particularly highlighting. One stage is called this Sunyata Bhumi. Very profoundly how Buddha is explaining about the emptiness, and certain other area how Buddha is talking about his Sarvajñata Jnana, Sarvajñata Bhumi, his full enlightenment, and something else is also there, I can't remember. So these are few things coming to my mind. Yeah.
Part 3, refer to my experiences on getting blurred when seen forms and not absorbing sounds while listening, etc. Bhante explained it by referring Vitakka Santana Sutta and said about Vitakka Vashita, kindly requesting to explain more about Vitakka Vashita and the way to practice it, please.
Yeah, I mean, so this blurring and Vitakka Vashita, we can have some relationship. So in the Vitakka Santana Sutta, there are 5 methods that Buddha explained how to overcome different Vitakka, different thoughts. So, say for example, there is ongoing thought available and you notice it now, and now you need to overcome it, abandon it. So the first easy method Buddha first mentioned is to replace it. And you recognize it as an unwholesome thought. Now you are simply replacing it with a wholesome thought. Say there's an angry thought, now you are replacing it with metta, loving kindness thought. So that is the first technique. The second is looking at the danger of this, having this continued unwholesome thought. So once you see the danger, adinava, of these thoughts, then Buddha says, since you are not encouraging those thoughts, they will naturally fade away. So if this does, now he explained one after the other. So first you try with the replacement. If it doesn't work, you go for the looking at the danger. Assume it also doesn't work. Then you go for what we call this, what's the third one? I think the third one is called, there are two, which one coming first I can't remember. maybe talking about this amanasikara, asati amanasikara. So you simply ignore it. So when only you are paying attention, then only you get stuck with it. You are giving some emphasis to it. So you simply ignore it. You are looking at something else. So the simile that Buddha is giving is, say you are trying to meet someone, but if you don't want to meet, don't want to look at, you simply look something else. You turn your head the other side. So likewise, you are not paying attention to it, you simply ignore it. Asati amanasikara. That's the third method. Even if that doesn't work, now Buddha asks us to look at the kind of the root. So when these thoughts are there, before this thought, what was the previous one? What was the previous one? So you are applying yoniso manasikara and finding out the cause of these thoughts. So it's difficult in a way. So you are trying to look at the root of the vitakka. Fourth method is about vitakka santhana mula, where you are trying to look at the cause why these thoughts are coming. And once you are looking at that, naturally thoughts will disappear because you are not promoting it. So thoughts, the thinking will continue only when we are supporting it. So once you are trying to look at the cause, automatically you being not paying attention to the ongoing thoughts, rather you are finding out something deeper. So this is also will stop thinking, unnecessary thinking will stop your thinking. The last one, Buddha say, none of them are working. Okay, you have to use your willpower. You apply your willpower, crunch your teeth, stop it. So that's the last one he say. So basically, after giving all the explanations, so in the Vitakka Santana Sutta, so the ability the yogi, we can say accomplished yogi may have, where Buddha mentioned, so when it is necessary he can think, when it is not necessary he can keep not thinking. Avoid any kind of thinking, keep the mind quiet. Yang vitakkang akankissati, tang vitakkang vitakkesati. That means if it is necessary to think about something, he can think. So, na tang vitakkang tang vitakkang nakankissati, na tang vitakkang vitakkesati. So when he doesn't want to think on something, he is not thinking. Simple as that. So he is coming to the full control of thinking. Acchejji tanhang vavattai sangyojanam samma mana bisamaya antamakasi dukkassa. So that means, now say for example, assume that we have this kind of a capacity. Now say the mind is trying to think something which is more developing craving. Say you understood it, it's not necessary, okay, you stop. So likewise now the cutting of the defilements are there. So you understand what is the proper way of thinking, what are the necessary things to think, what are the unnecessary things to think. So you have that samadhitti. So accordingly, when mind is getting to wrong thing, okay, you stop it. So as we are continuing like that, acchejji tanhang, so you are cutting the defilements. You are cutting the craving. Acchejji tanhang. Vavattai sangyojanang, so you are not promoting any kind of an attachment, any bonding, any entanglements. So you are completely, any kind of entanglements are dissolved. No entanglements at all, no tanglements at all. Mind become very clear, clean, no friction. Vavattai sangyojanam. So all the sangyojana, the fetters are abandoned. Vavattai means the digarino. Straighten. You are straightening the hooks. So typically we all have hooks to get hooked with the others. So you are straightening them. So they are putting the hooks but no way to capture. So you are simply straightening them, everything. So your mind is very clean, clear. So no defilements. Vavatte sangyojanam. Samma mana bisamaya. So you fully comprehend the mana, measurement. How we do the measurement. So I am creating a person here, you are there. I am good, you are bad. I am better, you are worse. So I am worse, you are better, or something like that. So we always do this measurement by creating a person. So we need to look at the mind, how we are doing this whole process. How mind is doing this whole measuring process. So the point is, when we are associating different kinds of concepts, naturally it promotes measuring. Say, for example, when something is beautiful, for me it is beautiful, and there may be something which is ugly. Something is near, something is far. Something is good, something is bad. Something is available, something is not available. So we have the dualistic kind of thinking. Dvenisito ko ayang kaccana loko ye buhiyena. So in the Kaccanugata Sutta, Buddha explains, so we are always associating this dualistic kind of thinking. Good, bad, yes, no, available, not available, white, black, white, near, far. So this is how our thinking pattern is fairly conditioned. It costs to measure. And the more we are keeping the mind very quiet, no proliferation, no thinking, when it is not necessary, you are keeping the mind not without thinking. So you are slowly abandoning even that. Samma mana abhisamaya antamakasi dukkhassa, and you end the suffering. So there's very beautiful sutta actually, Vitakasantana Sutta. So talking about these different methodologies to overcome obsessive type of thinking, and ultimately taking it to the very beautiful level and giving us the direction, okay, now you need to work like this. Yeah. Yeah, you have a question? Yeah.
Avasarai Bante.
Yeah.
Now, I initially practice like that, ditta-mattan, sutta-mattan, like that way I start to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can, without thinking, I can see the sounds and everything I can feel without getting thinking, without thinking, like that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes I don't want to talk even also.
Now you are talking.
Most of the time I am thinking no need to talk anything. Nothing.
Sorry, most of the time?
I think no need to tell anything. Nothing is there to tell even.
Correct. So that's why the Muni, nothing to tell. He understood it.
Yeah, then,
nothing to tell.
Yeah, now I am getting feeling nothing to tell.
Yeah.
But again, I try to speak with others to see what will happen to me.
Uh-huh.
But after speaking also I can
keep your mind quiet.
Calm.
So
Yeah.
those are the areas actually. So I can remember when I start, say, preaching. So before the preaching, certain amount of preparations are there, little bit of planning is there. So while preaching also, maybe certain amount of thinking, and after preaching only the huge thing is there. So talking too much, and I should have tell like this, I should have tell like that. So I have that experience. So after a preaching, after a Dhamma sermon, so how mind is giving certain comments. But with time it has reduced actually. So that's what I was discussing even today morning. So how beautifully Buddha is telling, okay, I am just preaching. After that, nothing. His mind is quiet. So we have to come to like that. I mean, it doesn't say that I am being completely silent. But we should be able to talk. But after talking, I mean, can we make ourselves silent again? So this certain, I mean, our, as I said, so when we have a person, when I have a self, a strong self, so it promotes thinking, definitely. So I have to safeguard myself, I mean, maintain the reputation, okay, I am become a special person, all this personality related stuff is there, so suffering, produce some sort of an agitation and produce more thinking. The more we understand there is no self, no one to protect, just freely moving, isn't it? I mean, there is no one to protect, just freely just conditions are there and simply operating. As this person who this Siddhik, Joseph Siddhik, he mentioned today in the morning session. So he was eating, mind was silent, nothing to talk, nothing to think, because he might have opened the fridge and taken something and everything was well prepared. Now he is tasting one after the other. No thoughts. Who is eating? There is no person who is eating, but eating is happening, by the way. The process is there. So likewise, so all our practices we have to see, so this is the kind of direction we have to move forward. So are we able to sweep the floor without thinking? No, it's a very simple activity, no? Isn't it? You don't need to think and plan and all that just to sweep. So can we sweep the floor while keeping the mind quiet? So similarly, can we eat while keep the mind quiet? So can we keep the mind quiet after a talk? An interesting thing is not only that. So Bhante Jnanananda is telling, Muni, the mind of the Muni is not silent when he is silent, but even when he is talking, his mind is silent. Think about that. So his mind is silent even when he is talking. Very beautiful. These are very interesting areas for us to explore. So the Buddha, in that sense, he is talking, but there is no person. He is talking, by the way. Still his mind is silent. There is no any restlessness, there is no any agitation. Now, this, today we discussed this Mahasatchaka Sutta. And after this whole debate, now Satchaka actually came to attack the Buddha. Telling, particularly his mind was there to attack the Buddha, taking that sleep. So one occasion, Buddha has slept during the daytime and somehow it being noticed by someone, and Satchaka is trying to use that, telling, okay, people are telling sleeping during the daytime is because of the delusion. So I am not encouraging sleeping at daytime, by the way. Sleeping during the daytime I am not going to encourage here, but this is a kind of thing that Satchaka want to refute, argue with the Buddha. But he asked various other questions just to get on to the picture, and then he is putting this also. So now after going through all this discussion, later Satchaka noticed that Buddha is still very beautiful. He is not sweating. Because that the Satchaka is asking, attacking questions. Now we can respectfully ask questions, right? It is not the way that he is asking. He is offending the Buddha, and he is asking very different way, without having any respect, without having any that kind of honorific level. So he is asking just to look down the Buddha. But after going through whole thing, so he still see Buddha is maybe with a slight smile or something, no problem at all. After going through this whole debate, so then Satchaka is telling, Bhante, this is something special. So you can look at this Mahasatchaka Sutta. So Satchaka is now telling, okay, Bhante, this is something different. I have been to Ajittakesa Kambala. I have argued with him, and he got really ferocious when I am asking various questions. And when I went to Makkali Gosala, he became really upset when I am asking these kind of questions. He blamed me and he attacked me. He became really angry with me, and he starts sweating, and you can't be in the seat and get up. So, when you are attacking someone through the words, they start, moving. No? Similar thing he did with the Buddha also, because he is not a person that he come to the Buddha only. He is going from one teacher to the other teacher, asking so many questions, attacking them, and he can understand the behavior of the other teachers. Now, with the Buddha, same way he is attacking, but no problem at all with the Buddha, no sweating. And the previous occasion, actually, Buddha simply removed the robe and see, Satchaka, can you see any sweating? No sweating. Very interesting. These things are very interesting. Even Buddha has simply removed the shoulder and see, no sweating. Because there is no person to protect. The Buddha has no person to protect. So very beautiful. So Satchaka ultimately say, Bhante, I agree with you. So you are someone very different. All the other teachers, when I am attacking like this, when I am debating with them, so they all change their behavior. They become really ferocious. But you remain calm and your faculties are still bright. Very beautiful.
Shall I continue my practices?
Sorry?
Shall I continue my practices in the same way?
Still can't hear.
Shall I continue my practices in the same way?
Yeah. What's the way?
Without thinking, just say.
Without thinking. Definitely, yeah. So,
I mean,
that doesn't mean that we have to have sort of look down thinking. So, that's why thinking is there. Nothing to worry. If the mind is quiet, that is much better. So, when we are getting to this silent mood, so you start sometimes appreciating it, exaggerating it, but later, you talk, I don't worry. I don't bother because I know I can quickly calm down. I can quickly quieten the mind. So likewise, the kind of you being equanimous even to thinking, you don't have no friction about thinking, but naturally or in general, keeping the mind in silent. Yeah.
The last one, Bhante. Dear Reverend, the mind, although it is invisible, one can feel how it behaves. We are yet to understand or recognize the pure mind. Is there a way one can recognize the bhavanga chitta? I understand when one goes to sleep, it falls to bhavanga chitta. When there are absence of thinking, if it is falling to bhavanga chitta automatically, how can one overtake this situation? As to the principle of all things has a cause to appear, bhavanga chitta too should behave as per that.
So I am not telling that. When you are in emptiness, you are in bhavanga chitta. So bhavanga is actually a later concept taken to the Buddhist teaching. So if you refer the suttas in the Sutta Pitaka, there is no such word at all. But later in the Abhidhamma Pitaka, these terminologies have come to the effect, telling, okay, when the mind has nothing to do, okay, it got into this bhavanga type of thing. And even when you fall asleep, it comes to this bhavanga. But such teaching is not there in the Sutta Pitaka. So therefore, when you are in emptiness, we can't say you are even taking the object of what you have during your birth moment. So the bhavanga chitta, typically the explanation is, say during your birth moment, you had some sort of an object, a nimitta. So that is exactly what you are taking again and again when the mind switches to its default mode, where there is nothing particular that you need to think. Okay, always mind is taking that previous nimitta, that object, as your default object. There is no such teaching in the Sutta Pitaka at all. And so the emptiness does not take any nimitta. So that is animitta. So animitta, signless. So don't mix these things. So in the animitta, in the precise form, there is no nimitta. Because you have seen the impermanence. So as you see the impermanence, it prevents you from taking any nimitta. So the Vipassana practice, as you are practicing the anicca sanya, as you are practicing the transience, you see in the transience, you see the impermanence. So more and more things are, disappearing, you are more and more coming and going, more and more arising and passing away, then you can't find a nimitta. As a result of that, your mind get released using this animitta, not taking nimitta. So when your mind is at signless, animitta, that means no nimitta at all. So emptiness, animitta, all are very same. So when you are in sunyata, so very much you don't have nimitta as well. So don't mix up this with the bhavanga. So that's a completely different concept. Yeah. Okay, so that's all. Yeah. Sure, yeah. So there's a competition from both sides. Yeah. Can you please pass the mic? Can you come closer? Yeah.
Asray Bhante, you did a series of Deshana Manasemayava before Paticcasamuppada.
Yes.
So rather than just reading the book, if they can listen to that, and because you clearly explain, very well explain. So we can mention it.
Yes. So at Nissarana, actually, not only me, Bhante Dhammajiva and myself, we both discuss this Manasemayava book. So if you like, you can listen to them as well. So we are trying to explain the book. This Kalakarama Sutta is really a deep sutta. So the whole thing is well explained by Katakurunda Jnanananda Thero. But further we are trying to simplify it and trying to explain it. I think we went through several months to explain it, when little by little. So very interesting book actually. Yeah.
Dear Bhante, actually this is maybe sometimes elementary questions, but I would like to know really the definitions and the relationships between, according to the Buddhist teaching, the thoughts and the mind, because there are a lot of scientific explanations. Thoughts and mind, whether the mind is a platform to operate thoughts on that, or whether what is the relationship, or who is administrating what, like whether thought is administrating mind or mind is administrating thought, or always we are talking about awareness of the mind and so on. What exactly the sort of Buddhist, according to Buddhist teaching, these phenomena has been described really? Because we are talking about so many times about these phenomena, but basically how that operates or the relationship thoughts.
Actually we can say about 3 levels. So what is at the most primitive level is the consciousness. That's why we are talking about eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness and mind consciousness. So it's a very, very instantaneous kind of cognition happens. It's very instantaneous. And later it promotes kind of thinking. Now say you see something at the eye level, there's a little cognition happen at the eye level. That's why it's eye consciousness. And it promotes, assume that it later happens again and again. So as a result of that repetition, now you feel something is there. Now you need to recognize it. Now you are thinking about it. Now you are coming to the what you call the chitta level. So chitta is somewhat colored now. So chitta level. And later it is talking about the mana level, where now you can't simply stay quiet, you want to do something. So you are intentionally participating into an activity. That is where the mana is there. So now you can refer, this explanation I am taking from, again from Katakurunda Jnanananda Thero. So there is a little book called Question and Answers.
What is that question?
Question and Answers by Katakurunda Thero. So he's asked, so this question was asked from Katakurunda Thero. So as you said, there are different terminologies. Sometimes it is called Vijnana, sometimes it's called Chitta, sometimes it's called Mana. So are they the same or are they different? So this is the explanation that he has given. So the consciousness is the most primitive form of cognition. Later, on top of that, we start recognizing a little bit of thinking, and then it reaches the level of Chitta. So where it is somewhat conditioned, somewhat colored, but still not yet an action. But once it comes to the mana level, that is you start operating. You start intentionally participating.
Is it the mana level validating thoughts?
No, it's already thinking now. Mana level now, when it comes to chitta level, it's already thinking. Thoughts are there already. So the mana level already has thinking, as well as some action is also promoted. A chetana is also there. So thinking is actually chetana. On different thoughts, chetana is the forerunner, or chetana is the most prominent one. So Abhidhamma has more explanations about the chitta. Say, that when we are talking about the Rupa, Chitta, Chetasika, Nibbana, so they are explaining Chitta into 89 Chittas, and many explanations are there. I am not going to that. So this is a simple clarification I am trying to tell. Where the most simplest form is the conscious level, then you are coming to the Chitta level, and ultimately you are at the Mana level. on which you are operating. You are doing an action, so the karma will be generated.
Yeah.
So simply by at the consciousness level, we can't say we are generating any karma.
Yeah. Mean to say that the thoughts are originating from the conscious level? Thoughts are originating? This is where the puzzles came to
Actually,
me.
the thing is, now we have to talk about sankhara.
Yeah.
So thoughts are a type of sankhara.
Yeah.
So what is the cause of sankhara? Avidya paccaya sankhara. So when there is no ignorance, no sankhara. So therefore we can't say thoughts is a must, or every time the mind needs to think. Rather, when the mind is fairly, say, enlightened, or we can say uplifted with wisdom, no need to make any sankhara. It become quiet. So that's why now we have the tendency, actually, this is what today ITN Dhamma sermon was explaining, sankhara. So this sankhara has the capacity to manipulate, has the capacity to multiply things. So one aspect of sankhara. So you can refer Kajjaniya Sutta, how Buddha explains sankhara. Sankatang abhisankharanti ko tasma sankharati uchanti. Sankatang abhisankharanti. So all what we have is the sankata. Say in this conditioned world, all what we have, what we are experiencing is the conditioned phenomena. So the sankhara, so their function is to further fabricate it. Building up, preparing, further fabricating, adding, multiplying, all these manipulations happen inside the mind.
So can't we
sankhara.
say that is as Bhante, as those are the activity of thoughts?
I mean
it's creating
not only thoughts. That's interesting. Now Buddha further explained, Rupang rupattaya sankatang abhisankaroti. When you see something, you can't merely stop at seeing. You further fabricate what you see, what you hear, smell, taste, touch, tangibles. You further fabricate. That is with respect to the form aggregate. And how about feelings? Same thing. Feelings also you further fabricate, you further multiply, you further prepare. And perceptions and thoughts. When thoughts are there, you further fabricate them, you further add them, multiply them, you like them, you don't like it. All that nonsense is there. So the point is, so this whole conditioning process, this whole fabrication process is, available when ignorance is there. So avidya is the kind of foundation for this to happen. So when there is no avidya, cooled, calm. That's why after the Buddha's enlightenment, he simply say, visankhara gatan chittam. So my mind no more fabricates.
So that's what actually the same way that I was just thinking, that the thoughts are flowing and we are sort of watching those thoughts. Is it by the mind? Yes. Or if it is by the mind, and then we are trying to validate and take away certain things. And certain things sometimes you may take it. So this is where how it operates, and sort of what kind of a platform the mind we call, in Buddhism. This is what the elementary sort of thought that it is coming actually.
So
whether the thought is a bundle, whether the mind is a bundle of thoughts, or whether the mind and thoughts are two different phenomena, and those
we can say like
those
that.
are independent ones, or who is administrating what, or kind of things.
There is no one who is administrating. There is no any person, no administrator as such. So the faculties are being built up. So Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. So they basically take control in a way.
Okay, thank you.
Manase Maya? Manase Maya, or magic of the mind?
Sorry?
Magic of the mind.
I have.
So you have to read it.
Bhante, you just mentioned Mahathero's Q&A is also there. the question he asks is in Katukurunde Hamaduro's Q&A. Is there something like that?
No, not yes. That's there's a book called Question and Answers.
Is it on the web in
Yeah. It is in the web. Seen through the net, their website.
Yeah.
So there's a book with a knot.
Okay.
There's a white color this cover. It's not a popular one, by the way.
That's what I haven't.
Yes. It's not a popular one. So what it has is series of questions. Series of questions, and what are his answers. So basically, different people have written questions through the written format, send him some letters, and what he has
given the answers.
Given
okay.
the answers.
Thank you,
Yeah. Okay, then we'll wind up here, and we had a good discussion, and we'll, as usual, have the Dhamma sermon at 4 p.m. Thank you very much.